really, this was like an action episode. It wasn't even like a big primary one. It, for the most part, was, hey, you got a lot of Grimm running around, just doing stuff. The characters got to go out, have a little bit of exposition to kill them. Nothing big yet. Looks like we're getting stuff set up, especially the end. The end I got a little hype for. But I gotta expect, there's an old say, it's hope for the best, expect the worst, and how RWBY's done a lot of its best villains in. It wouldn't surprise me about lots, but I'd hope not. Other than that, like, the characters are kind of, they're going around, just dealing with things, dealing with a lot of Grimm. I very much disagree with one thing in massive, significance, and that is when they announced all this stuff about Salem, because in the RWBY world, the Grimm are, they're commonly known. It's not some mystical thing, like some horror nightmare creature that only some actually end up seeing. They're regular. They are a commonly known problem. And people know how they work. They're all kind of drawn to negative emotions and whatnot. And when it comes to something like this, if you live in this kind of city, this big walled in kind of fortress land, and that a lot of these big negative emotion clusters end up drawing the Grimm. Why would you riot? Because it's it sucks, when bad stuff happens, but I feel like you should know that the Grimm, at that point it's hey, if we get pissed off, the Grimm are going to show up. This isn't oh, well, we don't believe that the Grimm are real, and then, events happen, and it's oh, well, it was because they didn't believe these things that brought upon them. It's weird to me, the idea that, they didn't, nobody kind of hey, guys, we should calm down before we end up, summoning a bunch of Grimm to come and, raid our city. But after that point, yes, a lot of fodder Grimm. There were some, scenes that were cool in exposition, but I question the logic. There's the part where they're, Blake's running from a bunch of, little saber-toothed ones, and, she's just making her little clones, and they're jumping on them and dying, and I'm just why don't you just turn and kill them? These guys don't seem very strong. And, she ends up doing that, and then, I don't know, whatever the really big chick is called, grabs him, Yang comes in, puts a couple explosions on him, and then the big chick throws it. I'm thinking, if you could throw it, you had the physical strength to throw it that high in the air, why wouldn't you just punch it? I'm sure that you're physically strong enough to just knock it out of the area and massively damage it, because these ones don't seem very powerful. There was only one amongst them, that really extra big elephant one, was they called the Goliaths. There was only one extra big one that really seemed much of a threat, so I don't know. Because the big chick just whips out her weapon, because then she uses a hammer, kind of like Nora, but her shifted one is a 2-barrel rocket launcher. Why don't she just use that and blow it up? I don't know. I get a lot of it is yeah, we just want to have, there's cool fighting choreography, which I'm fine with, but some of just the way that they demonstrated it is silly to me. There's a part where you have this right here. It's right here. There's this guy right here if you want to pause it and just look at the scene. So the one dude, one of the Aesops, makes his big energy hands and pins all of these Grimm up to the walls. And they're okay, we need to, everybody single file, let's get you guys out of here. Have Jean use his semblance to amplify Ren's to make it so that Grimm can't see these guys. And I'm just when they're pinned up against the wall, why don't you just go cut off their heads? You guys have the full capability of literally just walking up and beheading all of these Grimm and killing them. I don't know. It's weird to me. In that kind of sense. I mean, it was cool to see Jean have this sense of command. But at the same time, that part especially just doesn't seem logical to me at all. It's not a big deal. It's just one of those things you look at and be you guys had a lot better solution there. Why are you doing this? But then, Penny's coming in, and she's shooting her big old, green laser at this extra large Goliath. Her and RWBY are, taking care of it, fighting it. She ends up, heating up, burning one of its tusks, and then they cut it off, and then kind of, plunge it in the ground, and then use it to skewer the Goliath, because it seems too strong for them for a lot of attacks, but, it isn't going to be strong enough to take on its own attack, which is pretty fair. I mean, it's not like they It's not like the one earlier where it's like, well, why don't you just shoot the missiles at this big, stupid Goliath Grimm? If you had the capabilities of doing it, it doesn't seem like it was challenging. This one actually seemed kind of tough. But one thing about the Grimm, I think I would like to compare them to is kind of like zombies in a lot of ways, in that 99% of the time in RWBY, like, the Grimm aren't very impressive. Just Grimm in general. Obviously, there are special cases, again, like those really weird emotional ones, like the really tall, like lanky ones from last volume, that like mess with your like what was it, like your drive, and it just kind of like makes you like emotionally dead. Remember those ones that from under that town that killed everybody slowly? Like those are definitely very threatening because of the way they work. They have a special power, but like a lot of them are they're just very dangerous animals, and I'm just like, in terms of zombies, it's like they're dangerous when there's a lot of them. But similar to like Resident Evil, there are some of like the kind of like the Resident Evil, like they have the tyrant zombies and some of like the really crazy big ones. That's kind of like those like the dragon one, like the big dragon one from Volume 3, the kaiju one. Was that the end of Volume 6? Yeah, the end of Volume 6, the big Godzilla looking guy. Stuff like that. It's like, okay, those are big threats. Like the really big Goliath kind of just seemed like, I mean, it was something they didn't just run through, which I appreciated, because like for the rest of the Grimm were just not really much of a, they didn't seem that much of a problem. They kind of seem a lot of the time when there's only kind of like little groups of them, they're just a nuisance. It's not like, they're everywhere. They come in like a plague, and you could just look out and you just see like this wave of black like fill the land, and it's like, oh crap, it is something way more dangerous. But I think I think that was intentional. I think it was just a setup. They're just getting things kind of just going, because the real fights are on its way. If they wanted to have a really big crazy Grimm show up, they would have had something. So that one's not a big deal. I was just rambling about the Grimm for a minute, just giving my 2 cents on that whole aspect, because I didn't really feel like there was much tension at all from these Grimm, except the big one kind of was. We saw that it was strong enough to shrug off Penny's big ray beam, so it's definitely considerable. It's not like a boss one. It's like a mid-boss, essentially. It's like, oh, this one's not fodder, but it's not like, it's a huge deal. Meanwhile, so, obviously, also, was I surprised that Robin didn't go out and kill a single Grimm? None of her crew was out fighting the Grimm. They just were standing around. Am I surprised? No. I don't like Robin at all. But the whole point of telling them about Salem, I think that was awful. I think it was an awful idea. And here's why. In the whole sense of, like, let's tell people, we need to get it out of the open, I can understand. Doing it while the Grimm are attacking is a horrible idea. Because they were lucky. The people kind of rallied together, because for them, they had nothing really to worry about. It was all just fodder Grimm. So they killed him pretty quickly. The people got their spirits up, and they were able to kind of like overcome like the situation. If it was like with Beacon, where just you had the giant dragon like wyvern Grimm that was again a monster. That was like monster of Grimm. It had like the big black puddles come off it that would spawn more Grimm. That was one that it's like, yeah, that's a threat. That's like a big threat. Like the big weird creepy skeleton on the horse one from the end of Volume 4? Was that Volume 4? I'm trying to remember if it was Volume 4 or 5. But you know what I'm talking about. Or the kaiju one, the giant Godzilla looking guy. Those are threat ones. These ones are whatever. They're not a big deal. In the sense of telling people about this, because like imagine if it didn't go well for them and the people started freaking out. They heard about this crazy immortal witch lady that controls the Grimm and stuff, and it just causes them to panic. That's gonna bring in more Grimm. I question everything about that decision. I think that was a horrible idea. Not telling them in general, timing, because the timing again could have easily made the situation drastically worse. But Cinder and Neo kind of gearing up to do their thing is interesting. Again, I don't really care about Cinder, like, at all. I like Neo. I think Neo's cool. I'm interested to see Neo. Because the thing about Cinder and Neo is Cinder was interesting in Volume 4. She got kind of, like, screwed over. She didn't get her full power. She was hurt. She couldn't really talk. She got her spooky Grimm arm, and she wanted to get like blood out on Ruby. And then Volume 5, she didn't really have anything going on. It was just like, hey, I'm all right again. I'm not mad at Ruby anymore. She still kind of like hates her, but like we saw like it was like a blood rage, and then it was gone. Like other than like that kind of like blind like primordial rage revenge, I was like, okay, I can get behind it. But then it's just like, oh, I hate her. It's whatever. Neo, I can get behind because Neo is just personal. We don't know the relationship between her and Torchwick. Like, I know that they're a very popular ship. We don't know if it was a romance sense or they were really close friends. Regardless of which, she hates Ruby because of what Ruby did to Torchwick, which I can understand. She wants revenge. She absolutely wants to kill her for, leading to the death of somebody very close to her. Understandable. Much more understandable. I think she's got definitely one of the more relatable reasons to be doing what she's doing for a lot of the guys. Like Hazel is like one I can compare to, and I can't really get Hazel's that much. I kind of do because it was his sister, but at the same time, it reminds me of like Yang when she was really sad about like, oh, I lost an arm. It's like, you should know this profession is dangerous. Like, it's like, oh, you lost an arm. You could have died. Pyrrha's dead. Why are you sulking? Did you not think that there was a lot of danger in this, going out every day and fighting monsters and bad guys? Like, this should be absolutely the first thing you think about. Like, I don't know, it's weird to me. And the same thing with, like, Hazel. It's like, your sister voluntarily took this job. And absolutely the first thing that she probably, like, was like, hey, just so you know, this could get you killed. I don't really go with that one. I think that one's kind of silly. I can understand the idea of, like, it's my sister, I'm still pissed off. But, like, that one, I'm just like, whatever. Neo's I 100% understand. But, with that, and this was, like, one of those episodes, there was a time where I wish I was a live reactor just so people could see my emotional response of when Tyrion was going against Robin, because I was, Tyrion is one of my favorite characters. I love Tyrion. I think he's really interesting. I love his design. I think he's a really fun villain. He's got a really he's got a fun personality. I love his weapon. I love that he's a scorpion faunus. I love his fighting style. He's like a really weird dude. I think he's a really cool bad guy. I hate Robin Hill. I've said it all volume. I don't like Robin Hill at all. I don't like her character. I think she's very poorly executed. I think she's annoying. I really, really was so happy. You should have seen the smile on my face to the idea that Tyrion was going to kill her. And then right when I saw, like, he was not only like, geared up for a fight, but he did not look like it would have been problematic for him to beat her. Like, she's shooting little crossbow bolts and he's literally catching him with his bare hands. And it's like, he's gonna murder the hell out of her. This isn't gonna be a fight. And then Clover and Crow showed up, and I was so sad. You have no idea. I was so sad about that. Like, I really, really, really wanted it to happen. And I generally, even like if I don't like a character, it's not like I really want them to die. I think a good example, another one. I know My Hero Academia is really popular. I don't like Ochako, like Aravity, like, the female lead. I don't like her because she doesn't really do anything. Like, she's just kind of there a lot of the time, and she's got a really good power, and then somehow she doesn't play into the story like at all. And I'm just like, you're kind of a waste, and I don't like you because of it. You're kind of just present, and you just stand around. It's one of the reasons, like, I don't really like characters that just kind of don't do anything. And then it reminds me a lot of like Sakura from Naruto, and I'm just like, stop. Just go away. Have somebody that's competent replace you. But like, I don't want her character to die. I want her character to be, become capable and be able to do stuff on her own. Robin Hill, I just despise. I hate the idea. Like, she's like supposed to be this Robin Hood, and Robin Hood the character, like, it's like, steal from the rich and give it to the poor. And it's like, the rich. It's not just like, they're rich, they won't miss it. It's like they had all this extra stuff. They had all this extra money they weren't even using. And it's not like they were built a company that they just kind of were born into it, like a royalty, like a king. And at the same time, he's a criminal, but he's like, I'm trying to help people. Like, I'm willing to be the bad guy in order to help these less fortunate. And it's like, I can understand why, you'd be, a likable character to a lot of people in that sense of, wanting to help others at sacrifice for yourself. Robin Hill does not have that. Like, again, she doesn't go out and fight the Grimm. She, was attacking and taking out military groups that literally were present for when Grimm attacks, and then she doesn't. The Grimm attacks, and then it's like, well, are you going to step up and then, attack him? No. I hate her. Anyway, love Penny. Penny's always good. I had to bring that up again because it got to her again. So, the last part I want to talk about is the end point, and that is Ironwood against Watts. So here's the thing. I've loved Ironwood this volume. I think he's been done really well. He's one of the characters that I have consistently really enjoyed. I didn't like him when he first showed up in the series. He kind of just seemed like he was going to be that douchey military guy, oh, I'm just a huge hard ass, I care more about, tactics and strategy and, win, sacrifice of numbers kind of guy, where it's more like I strategize with the idea that my guys are just pawns, and it's I'm playing a game and whatnot. Kind of, you've seen it in probably movies before. Also, just, oh my god, Watts' gun is beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love Watts' gun. I'm so stoked for this one. And, how it kind of, matches up with Ironwood's is so cool, too. But I had to go, get ahead of myself for a second because I love the design. Ironwood's been done really well. A lot of the side characters have been fantastic this volume. Jean is always good. Penny's been great. Winter's been really good. Ironwood and Oscar have been really good. I've liked some of the stuff going on with Ren. Even though Nora is... I don't agree with a lot of Nora's takes. I'm happy that at least she's being more serious and she's not just kind of the silly kind of background goofy character that she is most of the time. But I've been very much liking Ironwood, and I very much am liking Watts. I think Watts is a very intimidating villain. So far out of that kind of core group for Salem's squad, you had Cinder, Hazel, Tyrion, and Watts. Watts has been by far the most intimidating because he's not just powerful, he's smart, he's tactical, he's got preparation. Even when he's caught off guard, he doesn't oh, I've been outsmarted, impossible. It's just oh, clever. Well, let's see how you deal with things now, because he's already got a new plan in place. He went to the Amity project, way up in there, and it was a trap, and he got baited in, and then it's well, I am still prepared. He smacks down, he's got those rings that ends up, manipulating the technology of the arena, and then he busts out his gun. He's got these cool, dust force field shields. The dude is cool. I like Tyrion because Tyrion's very strange. I like his design, I like his weapon and whatnot, his fighting style. I really like that about him. Hazel, the only thing I kind of like about Hazel is that he seems pretty chill, and I like the whole, he's, digging dust crystals into his body and becoming kind of like a Hulk. As Cinder right now, I'm just kind of you built something up, it was going somewhere, and it got wasted, whatever. Watts, I think, has been really good, really just a presence of a bad guy right now. At the same time, he feels like he could be, in a lot of ways, main bad guy material. He feels like he's got the intelligence, the preparation, the skill, that if Salem wasn't there anymore, that he could step up and become this main bad guy of the series. I know that's not the case. He works for the main bad guy, but out of all the enemies within the series, he's the only one that I think could hold that role as the main villain, if it wasn't for Salem. Because he just seems smart, tactile, he's aware, he knows what he's doing, he's quick to recover, in case something again, he got baited and trapped, and he's oh, well, I've already got something already planned up. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he goes. I'm hoping he doesn't die. I'm fine with him losing to Ironwood. I'm hoping he doesn't die, because RWBY's had a really bad track record of killing off their good villains way too early. Look at Torchwick. Adam, finally, when he got to really do stuff, he got killed off. Cinder got ruined. But, anyway, it's already way longer than I thought that I was going to do for this review. So I'll wrap it up. Again, tell me in the comments what your thoughts on this. Tell me what you agree or disagree with my take. Do you feel the same way about Watts? Dude's awesome. Anyway, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. For that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.